Oh, we have typing, which I think means we're live. Lol. Fantastic. Thank you to Sarah, our wonderful member of student staff, who is manning our stream this evening and making it work. So welcome everybody and anybody who might join us and be watching online, and to everybody present in our meeting here. Welcome to our first Meet the Candidates Q&A session. This is normally where I do applause or something, but it doesn't quite have the same effect across Teams. So you just have to imagine that as we're going. So this evening we've only got around an hour, possibly less, with some of our candidates present, and the whole idea is that we're going to have a few questions and a little discussion so that students can get a bit of a flavour of some of our candidates in this year's leadership race who want to be part of next year's full-time officer team, get to know them a little bit more, hear some of their ideas, and hear some of their answers to questions that students have submitted. We have some time limits through this evening's session. That's not just to be mean to you guys as candidates, that's purely to keep us to time so that we're not here until midnight listening to all of the wonderful things that that you want to tell students. So don't worry, we're not just being mean for the sake of it, but we might mute you and move you on if we need to. It's nothing personal. So this evening we'll have this introduction from myself. My name's Jamie Robertson. I'm the Student Voice Manager at the Students' Union, and when it comes to elections like the leadership race, I act as the Deputy Returning Officer, which basically means I'm the immediate person who makes decisions about the elections and makes sure that everything's running as it should be and sticking within our elections rules. As well as myself, we have Sabrina Jones. I don't know if you want to wave, Sabrina, from the Student Voice team. So they're going to be here keeping people to time, spotlighting people like I currently am, and muting and doing technical things as required, as well as keeping an eye on chats and things like that. We've got Sarah, like I said, who's manning the stream and will feed through any questions we might have come through live if we can squeeze them in. And we also have joining us this evening, broadcaster extraordinaire and OMG station manager Chris Steers, who you'll all be glad to know in a second I'm going to hand over to and shut up, and he'll do a much better job of forwarding questions to our assembled candidates. So when I eventually stop talking in a second, each of our candidates will have a little bit of time to introduce themselves. Then we'll move to some questions that have been submitted by students, and then we'll move on to a 2-minute kind of pitch or summary from each of our candidates here tonight around a topic that we know is important to students, and then we'll finish with a very kind of quick fire sum up and goodbye vote for me again from each of the candidates who are with us. Just a quick note, because obviously this is a online digital event, we're all joining from home, and therefore it's perfectly understandable if at some point any of us are joined by partners, children, pets or anything else. I know that's quite likely to happen to me, so please bear with everybody as we go through, and if anybody does have an interruption, I'm sure we can kind of pause time and give you, a fair crack at getting your answer across. So I think that's everything from me. We're recording currently, so people will be able to revisit the stream or the recording of this event. But unless anybody has any pressing questions, I'm going to hand over to Chris Steers. If Sabrina, you could spotlight him.
I think I'm being spotlighted now. Yeah, my name's Chris Steers. I'm the station manager of the student-run radio station here at Staffordshire University, OMG, and I also work with the Res Life department as a Res Life mentor. So what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you all to introduce yourself. You'll have about 20 to 30 seconds each, and I want your name, what made you want to run, your top priority, so that's your big thing, and your slogan. So who wants to go first? Should we have Connor go first then?
Yeah, I'll go first. Let's do it.
So if you could just introduce yourself,
Yes.
what made you want to run, your top priority, and your slogan.
Yeah, so my name's Connor Brady. I'm 21 years old. I'm a level 6 business management student, and I'm a Labour Town and District Councillor representing Biddle Feast. So the reason I'm running is because I've been here for 4 years now, and I've seen the same issues time and time again. I think if any of you have been here pre-pandemic, you'll see these fundamental issues like parking, laundry, things like this that you've experienced, that we've all sort of experienced, you or your friends, issues that haven't really been addressed by the university and haven't really been addressed by officers. So that's essentially why I'm running, to look at things like parking, laundry, zero-hour contracts, climate change, and create these fundamental changes to the university which improve everyone's student life.
Brilliant. Thank you, Connor. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
My name's Oscar. I'm in my 3rd year at doing cybersecurity, and I really wanted to run because we're kind of be coming out of COVID soon, hopefully, and I've got a lot of experience in running events and managing events and playing at events, and I really want to improve the event scene at the uni. That's my big thing. There's a lot of potential with the venues we have, and I feel like we're just sort of not using them really to their full potential, and students don't have so much to say with what goes on inside of them. So yeah, that's my main thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Scott, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Scott Tizard. I'm a 3rd year psychology student, and I'm a magician. And I want to run because I want to improve the enjoyment experience of students and staffs and the well-being of students and staffs. And the main thing I want to improve is communication and well-being resources. And my slogan is "Bring magic to your union." Could you hear?
Yeah, we could hear you. That's fine. So I think that's everyone that's introduced himself for this session. So what we're going to do is going to do some quick fire round.
We've still got Hayden to go.
Hayden. He's not on my screen. There he is, Hayden. Hayden, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, hi there. My name's Hayden Sang, and I'm also a level 6 cybersecurity student. I'm part of the staff sports teams, American football team, the Staffordshire Stallions. And why am I running? Because out of all my years here, I've honestly had a really great time at Staffs, and as I'm about to graduate, I just thought, why not? Just have a run. The big things I want to kind of work on is definitely mental health. A lot of people are also running for that. I think with COVID, as we're getting out of it, it'd be really good to have the next academic year bring back everyone and have the experience that they missed out this year, and really just have a good push on that.
Brilliant, thank you. So we've got some quick fire round topics. So you're going to have about 2 minutes each to answer the question. There can be completely random questions. Some of them may be sent in as well as we're live. So if you are a student that's watching this stream, please do feel free to drop a comment and send in your questions. I'm going to get started then. So at first, at Staffs, we have a very large demographic of commuter students. So how do you think the university can better cater to these students more? So Hayden, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So with the commuting students, I don't know about any of you guys. I'm pretty sure all of you might live on campus. I live on campus, but I do drive. So I do sometimes find parking can be, I guess, a annoyance nearly, but as me living on campus and off campus, but I'm nearby, it's not that bad for me. One of the ideas that I had for commuting students, example for them having maybe next day exams early in the morning and having to commute, where it might be rush hour, or example if they have to catch trains or cars or taxis and it's like rush hour and they get stuck in traffic, implementing some kind of system where they can book rooms to stay overnight and on campus, and being able to wake up early, get a good start to the day on time on those exams or very important lessons.
Connor, do you want to go next?
Yeah. So this is one of my biggest priorities. I mean, for the first 2 years, I didn't drive, and yet parking, and I think Hayden put it in quite mildly, really. parking's been a disaster zone for a number of years, probably more than 5 years, with students just being unable to park. You know, when they knocked down Brindley Building, the big university solution was that you could park on Fenton Manor, a 20-minute walk away. And it's just, there doesn't seem to be a connection between the fact that commuting students need to be able to park at any time of the day easily, and the university doing something about that. So if I'm elected as a full-time officer, I'll do a report, well, we'll get a report done, looking into long-term and short-term parking solutions, which would give costed solutions for parking on campus, which you can take to the top of the university and sort of say, you know, parking's one of the biggest issues on campus. It's been a biggest issue for 10 years. You know, here's some short-term solutions, which maybe cost a bit less, some long-term solutions, which cost more. Here's 1,000 students who agree with that. Let's get something sorted. And I think that's probably one of the best solutions, just to sort of take away that big cloud over commuting students' head of, if I don't get to campus by 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to be able to park.
So just a reminder of the question. So at STAFS, we have a very large demographic of commuter students. So how do you think the university can cater for these students more? Just to point out, car parking is not the only issue for commuting students. So if there's anything else you want to add, please do. Oscar, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Well, on my course, the majority, to be fair, are commuter students. And I noticed a lot of them actually take the train here. Very few actually drive. So perhaps some form of sort of a, you know, the university sort of bursary sort of scheme for these students who do sort of need to take the train often. I know for a fact I've got friends who, you know, well, they're buying weekly tickets and stuff. They might be an idea to bring in some form of like, maybe we already have a student rail card, but perhaps we can, you know, add another 10% on through various different fundraising, which could come from anywhere. And then obviously I have to admit Hayden's ideas were pretty good on the whole parking thing. I can't really argue with that. That's a great idea. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say on that topic, to be fair. Thank you.
And Scott, would you like to add some comments on that?
Obviously, parking is obviously a big issue for commuting students, but also in some cases, like lectures should all be streamed so that commuting students don't always have to come like the hours, however long they have to take on like trains or car journeys. In addition to that, what Hayden said about like them being able to stay over if they have early exams, also having that as a thing if they want to like go to social nights or something. So post-COVID, if students who don't live on campus want to get involved in like the Gobbles or the Flashback Fridays, they can do that without having to like pay for taxis or like sleep on someone's floor or anything. And people have done that often.
So on that point, we actually see students campaigning more about the nights out, for example. What would you do to support students and better support students that perhaps don't always want to go to the nights out, but also, you know, still want to engage with extracurricular activities? So Scott, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah. Actually, somewhat. So this year I've been like running the Mental Health Society with the other committee members, and something that us and the union actually created was like the R&R lounges, which is a way of like students being able to come onto campus and like speak to and like hang out with other students without having to like have alcohol involved. So that's like a big thing that there needs to be more of, is like non-alcohol events that are like during the day. So commuter students specifically can go back home but without having to like drive in the dark or anything.
Brilliant, thank you. Oscar, do you want to go next?
Yeah, obviously my manifesto is largely based around the idea of you know, alcohol involved nights out and things like that. But actually, fun fact, I'm a huge Magic the Gathering player, and I really understand the idea of people wanting to, you know, we've got to have these events which cater to everyone. So a big thing I used to do back in the day was obviously go to my local game store and play like board games there, in a sense. And there are some really great spaces around the uni, even in like the educational spaces, where we can have all sorts of events. And, you know, I would love to like try and work with some societies to utilize these spaces more. I know for a fact we obviously use the top floor of Mellor for, well, loads of societies and student groups use that already. But I feel like there's other groups, oh sorry, not other groups, well, yeah, probably other groups as well, but other spaces around the uni which could be utilized to sort of bring student creativity into the mix and kind of plan some cool other events. Personally, you know, I can't think of many off the top of my head because that's my brain, but I would love to, you know, work with other student groups who maybe have ideas to push forward. Thank you.
Connor, what would you like to add?
Yeah, there's some good points. One point that Annie mentioned to me yesterday when I was talking about sort of representation for the different campuses was that we could run events that are sort of, so like online gaming, for example, which spotlight the different campuses to try and get the sort of London students, Stafford students, Shrewsbury students all together on a university-wide sort of events, really. So it's less focused on sort of, you know, just Stoke-on-Trent campus and bringing people here, but it's more online and more connected across the whole university.
Brilliant, thank you. And Hayden, what would you like to add on that question? So just a reminder of the questions of what can we better do to engage students outside of their course, but isn't just Gobble or Flashback?
So personally, one of my bigger things on my manifesto that I'm trying to push for is definitely the more, again, providing COVID's all fine by the time for the next academic year. I would definitely want a bigger push on those societies and sports teams and just kind of getting that outreach for everyone to be able to join and just kind of have those connections. University is all about having that experience, and you know it's much better to have that experience with people you enjoy, meeting new friends, and just getting those connections.
Thank you. So our next question is, throughout the pandemic, we've seen more parent students shout out that they need more vital support. So what do you think the university and union could do to better support these students? So what is the university/students union missing? Oscar, did you want to go first on this one?
Gosh, giving me no time to think. So obviously there's quite a few of them sorts of students who do have to deal with children in the house, and obviously thanks to the pandemic they've had to stay at home, and well, the children at least. Schools are thankfully opening up again, but perhaps it might have been an equipment issue. It could be all sorts of issues. I mean, obviously, well, I'm not a parent myself, so I can't put myself in their shoes really. But for example, if it was an equipment issue, how come they don't have access to that equipment? There was definitely a parent student on my course who for my course you have to have access to a computer powerful enough to run virtual machines and specific software. What if they only had a laptop at home and they can't do that? You know, I would hope that they got the necessary equipment. So if it's a case of having to look at what equipment we can provide, or I think recording of lectures has helped dramatically in this pandemic, obviously, and they can obviously access them whenever. And then maybe potential extenuating circumstances if they really don't have time to do all of their work for their course. But yeah, thank you.
Connor, did you want to add anything to that point?
Yeah, I think that one about extenuating circumstances is really good. I know obviously I'm not a parent, so I'm never going to have that full understanding of what it's really like. However, I think one of the key things is recording all lectures, and with COVID, face-to-face sessions, because I think for a long time it's been a sort of idea and people have wanted to do that, but it never really happened until COVID. And I think what this sort of pandemic shows us is that technology can't be a barrier. And that if people can't make it to a lecture for whatever reasons, childcare reasons, whatever that may be, then they should just be able to either watch it live, which I think I prefer, but be able to watch it back whenever they want. And then another thing is having software available from home that's on campus. So last academic year, during the pandemic, I was on a placement year and I had access to all of the Adobe software from home. Whereas this year, whilst I'm back at university, and I sort of need that software from home, it's not available. So I sort of think that if the university were able to do that, where all students on appropriate courses were able to have that software from home, and then you have those lectures recorded, that will reduce some of those anxieties that parents face.
Okay, Scott, did you want to chip in on that one as well?
Yes, I think a big way would, because I know some people who have children find it difficult to like focus when they're at home, when their children are around. And obviously if they have someone who can take care of them, it's good that they can go into class and like go to lectures post-COVID. But it's also like moving some classes, so they don't finish, say, like 3 p.m. when children come out of school, or don't start at like, when does school start, like 8:30ish, I'm assuming, I think. So if like some lectures and stuff are just sort of moved maybe like half an hour, so like just to accommodate those students. And as the others have said, it's like being able to use the resources at home, and also supplying like better computers for people who need them at home, if people are doing stuff like on Oscar's course.
And Hayden.
Yeah, I completely agree with the three here, with what they said. Again, I'm threefold with all three of us. Can't really say, sorry, four of us, that we're not parents, so we can't per se say we have experience with it. And I do think stuff like extenuating circumstances and anything that may be able to help as beneficial for those that do have children, to aid them to complete their courses.
Brilliant, thank you. So we're going to ask one final question then. So what quality would you uniquely bring to being a full-time officer? So who would like to go first with that question? And try and keep it as brief as possible as well, so we can move on to the quick fire round. Connor?
Yeah, go on, I'll go first. I'm a Labour Town and District Councillor, so I'm used to being in these sort of councils where everything's bureaucratic and the whole institution is about status quo and keeping it. So my campaign, my manifesto, my candidacy is all about fixing those fundamental issues that every student's facing and that we all talk about, we all sort of complain about, but they never get fixed. And I think I'm uniquely placed with that experience as a councillor, getting things done in these sort of bureaucratic systems, to get things done again within the student union and the university, to look at things like parking and actually get some long-term solutions, look at things like flooding at Ainsley accommodation that happens every year, and get those solutions. And I think that's a unique sort of, something unique that we all need is bold leadership to get some of these changes through.
Thank you. Hayden, would you like to go next?
Sure, yeah. So I think unique is quite an abstract word. I would like to argue I'm not going to be unique because I want to be good with everyone. I love chatting to everyone and I get along with everyone. And that's the main thing, to talk to all the students, be able to have that similarity and understanding their voice and trying to process what they want to get through, and definitely representing them.
Scott?
With my time with the Mental Health Society this year, I've like met pretty much every person who runs like the well-being stuff for the uni. So when it comes to like improving that and like improving communication around that, it'll be like really easy to speak to them because I've spoken to them and been in meetings and worked with them all this year. So like improving well-being will be, I don't know, like not a unique thing for me to be able to do, but I think it will be easier to do than some people who may not know those people.
And Oscar, what would you like to answer with that?
Yeah, well, what I bring to the table, I guess. I've ran events. I'm really passionate about my events and nights out, things like that. I mean, I've filled Verve's capacity Welcome Week in 2019. I feel like I know what I'm doing, and I can see all the things we can do to improve our nights out, but make them better. And I feel like with my actual personal experience and stuff like that, I really want to help improve that. So personally, for me, it's just using those skills that I've gained over the years to hopefully really boost that up. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you all. We've now got a quick fire round. So these are randomly selected topics. You've got, again, 2 minutes on each one. So try and keep your answers as brief as possible. So our first one is talking about the satellite campuses. So what can we do about the satellite campuses? So Connor, I know this is something you're really pushing. So did you want to answer first on that one?
Yeah, I'd love to. So from my point of view, I don't think the satellite campuses, I don't think the 35% of students who aren't at Stoke campus are particularly represented that well. And, you know, the reality is that most things that happen at this university are Stoke focused. And that doesn't seem like it's going to be changing anytime soon. So to me, I believe that an officer place, one of the 4 officers that we elect, should be reserved for a student who's not from Stoke-on-Trent campus. I think we all are here, and we can't understand how to improve London campus particularly well. We can't understand how to fix Safford campus particularly well, and we're not going to really represent those students as well as somebody who's from that campus will do. And I think for me, the biggest part is that it could be run in the same way. The elections would be the same. It's just that a student who comes from outside of Stoke is going to give that unique perspective that changes that focus for the whole academic year, sort of away from that Stoke campus that we, if we were all elected here, would bring.
Brilliant, thank you. Scott, did you want to add anything to that one as well?
Yeah, I think that's like a really good point from Connor, and I think that's like a very, very good idea. But I think the first step in doing anything like that is actually engaging those students and running events specifically for them, because I know like the statistics and the amount of people from there that vote is like very, very minimal, and I think that's because they're not engaged at all with the union and they don't care what's going on with the union. So we need to tailor, like maybe even create societies around those campuses in order to make them actually care about the union, so they actually want to be in the position that Connor was talking about.
Hayden, did you want to add anything to that? So just a reminder, this is talk about the satellite campuses and how we can better integrate them.
So yeah, again, definitely a great idea. And with Scott's a kind of initial implementation will be quite good as well. I haven't, you know, I'm from Stoke campus as well, so I can't say I've experienced being on a satellite campus and not really engaging with the main union. One of the ideas I've thought about is definitely maybe even having their own officer team, something down there that can represent themselves rather than, let's say, potentially just having one over there, because it's very different from what we do here to maybe what they do on the London campus or the Stafford campus. So definitely potentially looking into that.
And Oscar, what did you want to add on this topic?
Yeah, I think a representative or 2 definitely should come from, well, not just a representative. We should just have a representative there from our satellite campuses who can bring forward ideas and sort of, you know, any problems that they might be experiencing on those campuses. Again, they are so disconnected, unfortunately. So it would be kind of cool to, because I know for a fact that I definitely want to see the London campus. It's kind of, they definitely teach some things that I'm into down there. You know, maybe some more opportunities should arise from, you know, somehow exchanging or visiting or doing some work with them, for example, perhaps, or with certain courses that maybe teach on both campuses, for example. And that's all I'm going to add, really. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Our next topic is one of sustainability and being eco-friendly. So who'd like to go first on this topic? Hayden?
Oh, hello. Okay. To be honest, sustainability is one of those topics that's definitely hard to deal with because there's only so many solutions you can go around with it. So especially in my first year here, and I lived in Halls, I lived in Royal Dalton, and there was no recycling, kind of like no recycling bins for Halls. Everyone kind of threw glass and cardboards and all that just straight through into kind of the bin. I'd definitely love to implement and put in some recycling, definitely get some of that, because I know first years, if you guys in your first years probably spent a lot of time drinking and buying alcohol and getting all those bottles and maybe Amazon every other day, so stuff like that, and just kind of increasing overall waste bins or recycle bins on campus, because a lot of the problems, a lot of times people just litter because it's the most convenient thing for them to do because there is no bin nearby.
Connor, did you want anything to add on this topic?
Yeah, definitely. Climate change is a key part of my manifesto. and I think we should increase renewable energy use across the university. I also think that this university should be a leader in climate change, and we just aren't right now. So Bristol University, they were the first university to declare a climate emergency. They've cut their emissions by 27% and recycle 95% of their waste. Where's Staff University on this? So if I was elected, we'd get a report into energy usage across the campus. So there'd be ways to reduce that, make the university a far greener and renewable place. But also I think we can be a leader in terms of things like renewable energy, so solar panels on appropriate buildings. And I think that's the way forward, so that this university is a leader on climate change and not just a follower.
Oscar, did you have anything to add on this one? The topic is sustainability and being eco-friendly.
Yeah, I definitely remember in first year the idea, well, it was very weird for me, and I'm pretty sure it is for a lot of other students coming from a family or wherever you're from, where you have two bins, the recycling and the non-recycling, and then just going, oh, chuck it all in the same one. That's so odd. Apparently that's due to the contractors who take the waste, they then sort it out at the plant. But that's really quite odd, and it doesn't feel right for many reasons, to be fair. And there's no way that you can guarantee that it's going to be recycling it so much. But I think we should definitely have recycling bins on the campus, because I don't know if we do right now. I think we just still have any general waste.
We do have a recycling
bin outside
bins.
The Union. Yep, I did just remember that. It's
They
been
are
a while since.
They are
Yeah.
dotted around the campus.
Okay, well,
think,
yeah, there we go. Perhaps more though. You can't really go wrong, especially in the first year accommodation. I know they've only got the big black bins which you just chuck everything into. So perhaps that, obviously promoting more bring your own cup to all the different, well, to Squeeze Box, I know that's been pretty popular. Perhaps just keep pushing that. Yeah, and I think that's all I can add, really. Thank you.
And Scott.
As they all said, there should be like bigger bins, especially in, I don't know if any of you have been to Claris, but there's just like 3 big bins, and there are like recycling bins in the actual kitchen. So I don't know why there aren't separate bins. So that should definitely be there. And also in terms of like being eco-friendly, I know some competitions are around in terms of like energy uses in halls. I think they should really push that a lot more and like, I don't know, like make students want to be eco-friendly.
I believe the competitions do have a prize at the end, usually something like Ben and Jerry's ice cream that I know ResLife, in particular working with ResLife, they do run that. But yeah, so you think we maybe should push that a bit more out there, get it out there, perhaps engage more students?
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Our next topic then is going to be mental health support and services. So we'll see, particularly with the pandemic, this has been a big topic across the UK. So who'd like to go first on this one?
I can.
Yeah, Scott, that'd be brilliant.
So obviously I worked with the Mental Health Society this year, and I found like the biggest issue at staffs is no one really knows what the resources are. So like communication is probably the biggest problem. Like the wellbeing resources need to be improved on top of that. But if most students don't even know what resources are available, it doesn't make sense to first focus on improving it. So things like the student news and on the student union social media and stuff, there should be like at least once a week well-being information on there about like the counseling service available, how they should do this, and things such as that. Because it's kind of insane that I would say like maybe half of the people I've spoken to this year don't even know that like counseling is available, which is kind of pathetic considering how big the uni is.
Oscar, did you want to go next on this one?
Yeah, sure. I'll give it some thought, and speaking with people who I know who have had to use the service, that service is available, and they've mentioned it does take quite a long time for you to sort of, get an appointment and referrals, things like that. It does take time because unfortunately, with the current state of the pandemic and everything, it all piles on and doesn't really help at all. But a good thing, one thing I really do want to try and push is prevention. Obviously, we'd rather nobody had to go to see anyone, to therapy or any sort of mental health counseling, anything like that. We'd rather no one had to, obviously, in the ideal world. So a lot of the time, well, I can't say, but sometimes people just need to talk to someone. Like one talk, that's it. No forms, no signing of lots of other little details, which no paperwork. Just need to talk to someone. So just maybe having a few days a week, maybe 2 or 3, where someone's available for people to just sort of go in and talk to someone. That might help a lot, to be fair. Just one little chat. That's all. Thank you.
Connor, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think Oscar's point about prevention is really good. And obviously Scott is the most qualified person here. He's really got on mental health issues. And I think in terms of my campaign, I look at most things from the macro, especially in this campaign. So for me, I look at mental health a little bit differently in that I want to sort of get to the root of those issues. So for example, if you're in Ainsley accommodation and you're worried that the accommodation is going to flood. Every time it rains heavily, you're worried that you're going to have to evacuate and spend a night in LRV, sleeping like a soldier. Then that is a sort of cloud that's going to be affecting your mental health. You know, if you're a student who's working at Ember Lounge on a 0-hour contract and you've gone into your overdraft because they haven't given you enough hours that week to make ends meet, then that is a cloud that is living over your head. And what my campaign is about really is taking those sorts of issues and removing those so that students, instead of having these issues where things are in their head and they have to focus on them rather than their studies, rather than looking after themselves, rather than, you know, enjoying university life. I lost my train of thought, but that's what I think is most important, really. That we attack those key issues and make people feel a lot happier in their sort of student lives, and taking away those macro issues.
Just to point out, there is support available if you are in need of it, that you can drop in as well and book an appointment with the night staff here at ResLife. Just to point out there, so there is that option already in place. Hayden, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, so definitely everyone's points here is very valid. And again, Scott is very good with his own experience in running the Mental Health Society. Personally, I have actually kind of had my own interactions with the on-campus systems with these issues. They do pretty decent services, stuff like triage, to just kind of see how you are overall first before kind of recommending you further into anything that they think you might need. But definitely these systems can be improved. Example, I would love to do kind of more partnerships with kind of more different places like Shelton Primary Care. I know currently with our current system with doctors, it's only maybe I think 1 or 2 doctors, and a lot of the times they might end up calling in sick themselves, and then our students have to wait a further 4 to 6 weeks before being able to be seen again. So just stuff like that, just kind of working with any local businesses or GPs, and kind of increasing those numbers and accessibilities for them would be massive.
So do you think better signposting than within other organisations and teaming up?
Yeah, rather than just a single one.
Okay, our next one, we've touched on it briefly in the...
I think that brings us to time, Chris.
Ah, there we are. Oh.
Yeah, I think that brings us to time. Sorry to interrupt.
It's all right. So if we could just do some outros from each one with your finalising statements. So Hayden, did you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So thank you everyone for listening. My name's Hayden Sang. I'm running for full-time officer. And I love your support, but for me as number 1.
Connor, did you want to go next?
Yeah, so, you know, I look at the candidates around me and I really respect them. They've got really good ideas, they're passionate and they care. But what I would say is that if we want to change things, we need big leadership on these issues. And I'm the only person offering these big solutions to these serious problems. So if you look at flood protections, who else is looking at the way we can fundamentally fix flood protections so the accommodation never floods ever again? If you look at long-term parking solutions, which other candidate is talking about how we finally fix parking once and for all. If you look at 0-hour contracts for students working in Ember Lounge, for example, that needs to change. Which other candidate is offering that change? If you look at tuition fee refunds, I believe that students haven't been given £9,250 worth of value for money this academic year. Who's pushing to get some sort of refund from students? If we want change, then we as students can come together, stand together, and get that change. And that requires bold leadership.
Scott, did you want to do your finalising statement?
Sure. I'm Scott Tizard. I'm running for full-time officer. And if you want to improve communication, well-being, and just improve enjoyment on campus, then please vote me for number 1 to bring magic to your union.
And Oscar.
Yeah, I'm Oscar, also obviously running for full-time officer. Again, you know, if you really want to try and see some changes in the way we run our nights out and events, and hopefully, you know, book some nice people, not to mention, but yeah, vote for me. I mean, I'm just really wanting to stay for another year. I can't, it's only a year, can't do so much. So yeah, I'll yeah, please vote for me.
So don't forget, voting is open from the 26th to the 28th of April. You can find out all the details on the union website. So if you head to staffsunion.com and follow the links, if you click the Representing You button and follow the links to the leadership race, you can find out all the details on who's standing, who the candidates are, the key dates that you need. So yeah, staffsunion.com/representing you, and then just follow the links to the leadership race. That's all from me. I'm going to hand you back to Jamie and Sabrina.
Thank you, Chris. Sterling work. Big thanks to you. I think you've wrapped up all the info that everybody needs, really. We have another one of these Q&A events tomorrow, followed by our final one on Thursday. We split them up just again so that they don't go on for hours and hours. So you'll be seeing different candidates, obviously, at those events. And again, they'll be streamed live for students to throw their questions in as we're going. So I will open up to Sabrina to prompt me if I've missed anything, but I think that's it. As Chris said, all of the information is available online, and I'm sure you'll see plenty on social media, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. But Sabrina, you were
that's tomorrow at 6:30.
Of course. Thank you. Thanks to our candidates. Thanks to you, Chris, and hopefully we'll see everybody tomorrow.